Welcome to Our Life in Transition. Listener discretion is advised. This podcast deals with issues about LGBT families and trans-specific topics. We would love to hear from you and welcome your questions and comments. However, we will not tolerate any discriminatory language or hate speech, so please, just don't do it. Enjoy the show. You know, the initial thought of this podcast was not to be like, hey, let's talk about politics so often, but it's like, you can't escape it. And if you're not talking about it, if you're going like, oh, well, you know what, I'm not that into politics, enjoy your privilege. Because it's a privilege not to have to engage with it and not to have to care.
When we were kids, we met at camp.
After college, we got married.
10 years later, we finally had a baby.
That same year, I came out as trans.
This is the story of our journey.
Through marriage,
Parenting.
gender.
And all the changes that life brings.
This is
Our
Life in Transition. I'm terrified that I'm not going to remember how to do this.
I think we just talk.
Really? Okay. That's one way to go about it. Right. Okay. Hello, everyone.
Hello. Wait. Hello who?
Everyone. Hello, everyone. See, I told you I didn't know what I was doing. My name is Shannon.
And my name is Rachel.
And welcome back to another long overdue episode of Our Life in Transition.
See, we did that part right.
Hey, the dog's freaking out. Look, see, this is the full-blown episode. We're doing things right. Okay. So yeah, it's been a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the last episode we did was my coffee break.
June.
Yeah, right.
The beginning of June.
The beginning of June, right after the protest started, and I had a little freak out in the podcast and tore people a new one, and then I left.
And then we disappeared. Well,
yeah.
Reports of our demise have been greatly exaggerated.
Yeah, no.
We're still here.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But, you know, it's been a rough few months for us and for everybody else in the world.
Yeah.
So we had to take a little break.
Mm-hmm. I mean, part of it was just, you know, a lack of getting around to editing and stuff, and then, you know, a week turned into 2 weeks, turned into a month, turned into the entire summer.
And then we were just like, screw it.
Well, I mean, no, like, we literally said, like, every 2, we gotta get back to the podcast, we gotta do the podcast, we gotta do the podcast, we gotta go.
It never happened.
Yeah.
But here we are.
Yeah.
We came back for you.
Yeah, but, I mean, to be fair, like, a part of that is a little bit of, I think both of us having the sad.
Yes, we have the sad with the pandemic and the world is on fire sad. Mm-hmm. Everybody has a degree of pandemic / life is a dumpster fire sad right now.
I gotta say, though, the writers of 2020 have just been pulling out all the stops. No holds barred. They're just like giving us is this the finale? Because they're just throwing everything at the wall.
You can't see my face, but there was just utter disgust on it. I'm done.
I was just like, you shut your damn mouth.
Yeah, don't challenge them.
Jesus Christ, yeah. But yeah, so it's been it's been a long but quick few months. And I mean, you know, to be perfectly honest, with all the stress, things have been difficult. Things have been difficult between us. We've been kind of sniping a bit.
Sniping a bit? I would have killed this bitch sometimes.
I was being very polite. Yeah, well, I mean, you know, here's the thing. And I was talking to a friend the other day, and, you know, they were kind of like...
You have friends?
weird as it sounds, yes. I never see any of them.
Wow.
I mean, I never saw any of them, before the pandemic, but, so nothing's really changed. I'm just here in the house. But, I mean, but they were saying how it appears as if, like, I've got everything together. And they were like, I wish I had. I'm like, yeah, sweetheart. Like, it's... No. No. Like, and that's the thing, like, appearances can be deceiving. And the internet isn't necessarily fake all the time, but it's can be curated. And no, it is difficult being married, and sometimes there is conflict. I mean, part of the reason that,
I totally get why, like, the divorce rate and the alcoholism rate is going up during the pandemic.
Yes.
Because, like...
Yes.
I drink a lot and sometimes want to leave.
Yes. And I mean, part of the reason, like, I was kind of, like, taking my time getting around to editing the last episode that we did, which is, at this point, so antiquated and lost and, like, not relevant anymore that it's just going to be a lost episode. We'll probably put it on our Patreon, like, if you want to listen to it.
If you're really curious
If you're really curious. But, like, I mean, to be perfectly honest, like, halfway through that episode, it kind of turned into a fight.
It's true.
So I was like, I don't want to listen to that again. Like that was the other day. We feel better now, but like, yeah, no, that was not a good day. And so, I mean, it's not easy.
Okay, but just to be clear, like, we're not getting a divorce.
No, we're too stubborn
currently,
for that bullshit. Currently.
If she doesn't behave, who knows? But no, it's not to that point. It's just, everything sucks right now, and when everything sucks around you, it has to seep into your relationship. There's like no...
Yeah.
It does for everybody.
Yep. Everything's on fire and the world is a fucking nightmare. So yeah,
Yes.
It makes things difficult.
On top of which, we have a now very independent 3-year-old. Yes. That happened while we were away. We have a 3-year-old now.
Independent. That's a very nice word.
She has lots of leadership skills. Yeah. She's a bossy little brat, and
if we were not so committed to being nonviolent and raising her in a way that is different than how we were, she would be leading herself right into an ass whooping, because she's very, very bratty sometimes.
Oh my god. Yeah, there have been multiple times that I'm like, was the wooden spoon really so bad? And I'm like, yes, it was. Don't do that. But I get it.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, when she does something wrong and you try to correct her and she laughs in your face.
Oh my god, child.
Oh. It's
the indignity.
It's yes. It's just, but so we're dealing with that. We're dealing with a child who does not wish to be potty trained. I mean, she does it at school, at daycare. She's now graduated to preschool. She does that, but at home, she just decides that she does not wish to do that, and
it's frustrating.
It's really frustrating. And so we're dealing with the nightmare that is parenting. And parenting when you're not in a good headspace is even worse, because you can't be in a bad headspace.
Right.
When you're like, you can't.
You can, but it's not productive for anyone.
I mean, you have to, suck up all your emotions and, do what you need to do for your kid, which is, and that's how it should be. And I'm not complaining about that. Like, I'm not saying, I'd like to, like, go postal on her. I mean, sometimes I would, but it wouldn't be productive. But, it's difficult to manage when you're already in a funky kind of place.
And the thing is, sometimes it's so for dumb stuff. Like, I get it. okay, you want to play with your toys, you want to play with your little toy keyboard, it's fine. But you just shit yourself, and we need to take care of that first. Like, you didn't tell us that you had to go, but you came and was like, I'm leaking. So now, like, we need to take care of that. And now you're running away and laughing and thinking it's funny. And it's just...
Yeah. So parenting.
Yes.
And then, there's all of the work and money stresses and all that go into the pandemic, and like, I'm like working like a fool.
And I'm not. And now, and that's been part of the stressor too, is that
we're trying to figure things out and keep afloat.
And so I mean, it's stressful. Okay.
On top of which the universe hates us.
Yeah, our car died.
Yeah, like died like smoke and horrors and.
Though that kind of worked out because we got a new car.
New to us. And I love my Escape.
But it actually, our insurance went down.
But
the car payments went down. We actually kind of came out ahead a little bit.
Yeah, but actually the month-ish that it took to figure out how to do that maneuver to get the old car gone and the new car here was really, really disgustingly stressful, and I don't know how either of us came out of it without, being in the funny farm.
Yeah.
It was just, but we now have a new, to us, reliable car that we're very happy with.
It's nice. It has a big, you wouldn't really call it a cabin because it's a crossover, so, or no, you wouldn't call it a trunk because it's a crossover, but cabin?
Cargo space.
Cargo space is a lot of cargo, yes.
Yes.
It's nice.
And since we plan on having this till our daughter is, at least a preteen, I assume that there will be, sports equipment and other crap going in and out of it.
A sousaphone, something, I don't know.
A sousaphone? Oh, please, God, no.
Yeah, the keyboard's bad enough. Please don't give me a sousaphone. And then also part of the problem too which is why I was delaying as far as editing that episode was because our old computer, in the beginning of summer started also dead. So, we have a new computer. This is the first time we're actually recording on this computer.
Right. So the computer took a crap. We had to, go through all the loading and unloading and reloading and all of that. I still have
stuff to load on here. I haven't gotten to everything, but we haven't needed it, so.
Yeah.
But that was a pain. And then there's also just time constraints, which here's the thing, I'm home and it seems like I've got all the time in the world, but I don't. And it's.
Well, because our daughter's only in school 3 days a week.
Yes.
And, I'm working 5, sometimes 6 days a week. So the rest of the time she's here with you. And
then when she's not here, there's days that I just crash. And
there's a lot of days like that you just crash.
I know, but again, part of it going back to the
depression,
the sad. It's you got to push to get things done, and sometimes I fail.
Most of the time, she fails.
Fine, okay.
And also, during the pandemic, we didn't have anybody watching. Right now, we're recording. My sister is watching our daughter because, otherwise, all you would hear would be, Elmo singing in the background and somebody going every 5 minutes. I want a different show. I want to watch something else.
I get she's 3, but the attention span is painfully short.
Like a goldfish.
Yeah. What? I didn't ask for this, but you just asked for this. No, I want this other thing.
This is rubbish. One of these days she's going to say that. So we didn't have anybody watching.
Yeah. So, that was not helping as far as allowing us to actually record or giving me time to edit. And so it's just been difficult.
Yes. And then, of course, my health is not fantastic, and so there are just days that I'm just dead. Especially, when I'm working all week, then like the weekends we have time to record or something like that, and I'm just dead.
Yeah.
And no, this is not like a physically demanding thing. Like I'm not like, doing a song and dance. I'm just sitting here talking into a microphone. Although you don't know what I'm doing while I'm recording. But no, I'm not, I promise you. But like getting into the mental space of when you feel like absolute dog poo.
Well, you've talked about this before. Sometimes you don't have enough spoons.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And lately, it seems like it's worse because of all the other stress because stress makes everything worse. So all the other stress of everything else with the universe hating us has kind of multiplied how crappy I feel. And so, but we're here now.
Yeah, we're back. Look at this. People have been asking, like, I've been like interacting with like people on like Instagram and stuff like that, and like going and like hanging out like when other people are doing like live streams and stuff. And I'm like, oh, Shannon's here. When's the podcast coming back? I'm like, well, it's here.
I've had a couple people like throw a little shade at me.
Like, is
got
it done?
nothing to
What's
listen
going
to.
on?
What's happening?
What's going on? So lest you forget about us, here we are. Hi. But yeah, meanwhile, holy fuck the rest of the world.
Trump has COVID.
Yeah. And he's on...
Shocker.
Yeah. Like, oh, well, who could have ever called that one? And anybody who's like, oh, don't act like it's his fault. It's his fault. Shut up.
Nobody who's listening to this actually thinks that it's not.
Well, that's probably true. But
unless they wandered here and they fell into some kind of weird thing and like
yeah, listen, Sweet Pea, I don't know where you took the wrong turn in Albuquerque, but this is not the place for you if you're going to be a Trumper. But also he's got like, steroid-induced freakouts, which is
yeah,
terrifying yet fascinating to observe.
Yeah, like the other day he had like a 40 tweets in 45 minutes or something like that. It was like
something
insane.
Going on like Fox and Friends and like Hannity.
This is what happens
like,
when you're on meth.
Screaming for, an hour. Talking about like them wasting water in California, just dumping it into the ocean because there's lots of fish that like are in trouble. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
I mean, there is a program, like I read up on this. There is a program because of the drought. Like San Francisco Bay is losing water because of the drought.
Okay.
And so they have been diverting some water because there are some endangered fish in San Francisco Bay. But like, it's a super duper drought. Like, it's not like they're not taking people's drinking water to throw it in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Like and he's making it seem like they're just gathering up all the water, like sucking it out of people's swimming pools and like and throwing it into the bay. Like nobody can drink anything because the fish. Like that's not really what's happening.
But it's just fucking off the wall, and it's just like,
well, it's like exploding trees.
And it's just every fucking thing. Like
California has exploding trees, and they're dumping all the water into the bay.
Here's the thing, he's been crazy forever. He's been getting increasingly worse the past couple years. The past few weeks since he has been diagnosed with the coronavirus, he's been insane. And I don't know how much of it is the prednisone. I don't know how much of it is...
It's not prednisone, though.
I don't know.
It's dexamethasone. It's like
that's even worse. Okay.
Oh my God.
So here's the thing. I don't know if it's just how much of it is the meds and how much of it is his brain is completely fried now.
Dexamethasone is like dude is on cocaine. Like, that's kind of the...
I mean, wasn't he on cocaine before? I don't know. But...
That's the kids. But at any rate, so we're watching like the dumpster fire that is, and he just came out yesterday and was like, I got the Rona because the Gold Star families whose loved ones were actually killed while serving in the military, right? That's what a Gold Star family is, right? They gave me the Rona because they wanted to hug me. It couldn't have possibly been the bazillion people that you had in the Rose Garden to announce your, like, crazy Supreme Court pick.
No.
It must have been the Gold Star families, because that's who you want to blame. That's
going to win you voters. Good job.
Oh my God. But I respect the military.
Keep on with that line of thought, please. Can I just say, like, halfway through your sentence, when, like, he came out yesterday and said, I was like, he came out yesterday? Oh, please, God, don't do that. We don't want him. No.
You know what? The writers of 2020, who even knows anymore?
Like, Mike Pence was like, hey, that's my bag. Anyway.
Ew.
Yeah.
But
Sorry.
more realistic.
Sorry, I brought up Mike, and then I just immediately saw the bloodshed eye and the fly. But
in all seriousness.
Yeah.
200,000, more than 200,000 people in the United States have died from coronavirus.
What is it now? 211,000? 212?
Like close to 15. 215.
I haven't paid attention in a day, so it's gone up a lot in the past couple days.
And, you know, people are tired of the pandemic. They're tired of the masks. They're tired of all... And I get it, but, like, so people are like, fuck it.
Yeah, and
that's making it worse. And when you have somebody in the White House who's like, don't be afraid, live your life, because everybody's going to get, like, experimental treatments that are, you know, made from stem cells.
Yeah.
And, you know...
Which, weirdly enough, all of his religious conservatives didn't seem to have a problem with the stem cells. They just put their fingers in there and went, la 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 la, we can't hear you.
By the way, Trump is a major stockholder in Regeneron. I just...
Weird.
Just want you to know that.
So it's like one of those things was like, okay, was he actually sick?
Or was he trying to shore up his... No, he's sick because...
But it's like, it's one of those things like, it's gotten to the point that even
we are like at a fishbowl.
It's gotten to the point where like even we're like, what is real anymore? And that's so infuriating.
Reality is a lie.
But I mean, and people are tired and people are getting lax, and you know, even people and friends of ours who are like super like, you gotta stay home, you gotta be careful, gotta wear a mask. Like, I'm seeing people like go and hang out like with people like that they've never met before in completely different places, and it's like, I get it in theory, and maybe you're being safe and the people that you're seeing are being safe, but Lord knows you might get sick somewhere in between traveling. And it's just like, there's a level to which like, no, you can't completely stop your life, but at the same time there's a level to which the preponderance of people displaying that like it's okay to be around other people without masks on is making impressionable people go, well, I don't need it then. And it's frustrating to watch. It's frustrating to watch. Meanwhile, I'm over here like sanitizing my hands all the time. Like I've got like lizard fingers, and that sounded weird. I've got like, you know, like scaly hands, and I'm constantly wearing a mask whenever I go anywhere. Like I'm sanitizing my mail because I'm like, I don't want to get sick. Although I probably, looking back, I think I was sick with it in the beginning of the year. I don't know if you go back and listen to the podcast when
we all had pink eye.
We all had pink eye and shit. So I'm like, I think I might have actually been the Rona. But it's just so infuriating to just see like people just kind of falling off the wagon of like actually like being cautious.
I mean, at some point you got to live your life, but especially because nobody is helping with anything. You know, we're not getting any stimulus because, you know, Cheeto can't decide whether he wants it or not, and
Mitch the turtle is
too focused on the Supreme Court, And actually, I don't think he's focused on anything at this point. God, can we just get rid of him?
Please.
Come on, Kentucky.
Kentucky, come on.
Come on.
Kentucky, South Carolina.
You have failed us so many times. Like, just this once. You gotta live your life, but you still gotta be cautious. And,
speaking of the...
if you're not gonna be cautious, like, the numbers are gonna go up and up and up and up and up and up and up, and it's never gonna go away.
And the thing is, like, we're getting into the fall. It's flu season. You know, they were predicting a second wave to begin with. The first wave never really completely died off.
Because people are stupid.
Because people are dumb. So it's just like, it's just compounding on top of each other. And it's just, we all want this to be over, but it won't be over until you're actually do what you need to do.
Yeah.
But speaking of the court, because we mentioned that a second ago, yeah.
Oh, RBG.
Ruth passed away. And, which, you know what, damn it, that poor woman held on as long as she could. And it's frustrating that just she couldn't last the last 3 months. But, so now we're in this fun situation where...
But she fought for a long time.
She did.
She fought for us for a long time. She deserves her rest now.
Yes.
But now we have this methed out orange Cheeto trying to put crazy people in the court.
A theocratic nut. I appreciate how in the VP debate the other day, like, Pence like tried to pretend like, oh, we have no idea what she would do about Roe. Like, really? Well, she wrote like several op-eds and has been very vocal about it. She wants to get rid of it. So I don't know what you're talking about.
And suddenly it's okay to, 27 days before an election, talk about hypocritical.
Well, yeah, when Obama was in office, it was not okay, and you couldn't do it in an election year, said Mitch, because...
He was black.
Yeah, well, he was black, and also just, he was a Democrat, and he was putting a moderate on the court, and that's, wouldn't be a crazy right-wing judge. Well, justice. And this is the thing about the court. The sole focus of the conservative movement over the last 30 years has been to alter the makeup of the court. When Obama was in office, they blocked... People talk about Merrick Garland and the Supreme Court. They blocked judges up and down the court.
Oh, yeah.
And then packed it full of people as soon as Trump got in.
I think it was in the first debate that Trump was like, well, you guys left like 120 seats open. Like you didn't do your job and fill these seats. And I'm like, dude, they nominated people and they wouldn't vote on them. They just refused to vote on them. They just pretended like it wasn't a thing.
And again, even in a normal debate where somebody isn't just screaming over you nonsensically for 90 minutes, it'd be hard to kind of come back at that point with like, oh, well, it wasn't our fault, because people don't want to hear that. But it was screaming at the TV. I'm like, yeah, but that's not because of what they did. They put people forward, and the Senate said, nah.
I'm so tired of people blaming presidents for the failure of Congress.
Yeah.
Like, there is a separation of powers, and there's only so much that people can do. And, like, Congress can't... The problem is Congress can't do anything without the president, because they have to the president actually has to sign some freaking laws. And the president can't do anything without Congress.
Yeah. It's just daily gaslighting to the extreme. And it's just infuriating to hear and know other people are being convinced by just the litany of false information. When if you've actually been paying attention at all, like you're like, oh no, that's not true. That's not true. This isn't true either.
But back to the Supreme Court nominee, guys. She's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, forget any rights that the court has given in the last 30 years. Like, all that shit's gonna get overturned. All of it. Like, Thomas and Alito are waiting to have her on there.
And they said point blank the other day that they want to overturn marriage equality.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they were very explicit about it.
And I don't understand, because the court's not supposed to be political, so I don't understand how they can just blanket statement without being impeached.
I hate that.
Say that because unless there's a legal challenge to it that they are ruling on, they should keep their fucking mouths shut.
I absolutely 100% hate the prevailing concept that the court is not political. The court is and has always been political.
But it's not supposed to be.
It's not supposed
They're
to be.
They're supposed to sit there and rule on cases that come before them. They're not supposed to be encouraging cases to come before them. They're not supposed to be like, oh, why don't you bring a challenge so that I can fix that for you? Like, that's not what they're supposed to be doing.
I know that, you know that, but it's never been that way. But there's always this kind of like performative, like, oh, we're above it all, and no, they're not. And they will put forward principles of like, we stick to our principles until it's inconvenient for you to stick to your principles, and then you just do whatever you want.
But again, they're saying the quiet part out loud, and that's impeachable. I'm sorry, that's impeachable.
It is, but nobody's going to do it.
Well, it depends on what happens in November.
Yeah, well.
Thanks again for listening to the show.
If you like what you hear so far, subscribe so you never miss an episode. Also, be sure to share with your friends and family so they can enjoy as well.
This podcast is made possible by listeners like you. Thank you for your support.
Oh, and 2 days ago they tried to kidnap the governor of Michigan.
No, 2 days ago they foiled the plot.
They foiled the plot. To kidnap the governor of Michigan.
The plot's been ongoing. But yeah, so, and I wonder why, like, some extreme right-wing loons were trying to kidnap the governor of Michigan. It couldn't have possibly been because Trump kept saying liberate Michigan over mask rules, right? No. And the COVID shutdowns.
No, they did it completely independently. He has no influence over people
Just to let you
whatsoever.
know, Michigan is in one of the best spots in the country right now as far as COVID is concerned. They're doing very well because of, the major shutdowns and everything. And I understand that people are hurting. I get that. But you go and try to kidnap the governor. So the plot was to kidnap the governor and put her on trial for treason, which I don't know how you do that. Like,
they don't know what treason is. You keep using that word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
And also to blow up or set fire to her vacation home. Which is, that's fun. But these are all, I want you to know, these are all right-wing militia members.
Terrorists, go on.
Well, they're terrorists, but they're white, middle-aged Americans. So this is what we would call domestic terror.
Just
not very fine people.
I just want to check the schedule. At what point do we are they burning down the Reichstag?
To be determined.
Okay, because
it's coming.
One of the things that people don't comprehend, and people want to, when people on the left, like, yeah, this is that's Nazi shit. This is Nazi shit. People like roll their eyes and like, oh, don't say something like that. Don't call people Nazis. This is the exact same behavior, encouraging extra-legal paramilitary groups to go do shit, hurt people, burn stuff down, cause chaos, and then blame it all on the left and act like it's all their faults.
He told them to stand back and stand by.
Yeah, well, okay, well, for how long? What's the time frame on that? Because
we'll stand by until he whistles again.
Yeah, well, it's, and again, the gaslighting is if like, yeah, we heard what you just said. We know what that means. No, that's not what I meant at all. I'm like, well, that's exactly what I meant. Yeah. Well, what did it mean then? Because it doesn't make sense. Well, he misspoke. Well, he needs to stop misspeaking then. because the people that are
Every other word is misspoken.
If he's constantly misspeaking, then he needs to not be president because he doesn't know what he's doing. Because the people that he's talking to and sending these dog whistles out to know exactly what he means and are taking his words to mean go ahead and do damage. It's ridiculous that we keep having people lecture critics on the fact that he is encouraging white supremacy. He is a white supremacist. Donald Trump is a white supremacist. And just
in the immortal words of David Dix.
Yes, full stop. But but just pretending like what's happening isn't happening is so infuriating and tiring.
Yes. And you watched the debates. I did not watch.
I watched both of them in full.
I tried, but the amount of bullshit that I can take in when I'm already like feeling like shit is not much. I watched part of the screaming match, a large part of the screaming, just the yelling about everything.
That was
the
an
first
auditory assault, not just on like Joe Biden and Chris Wallace, but like the entire country, everybody who was watching. That was just straight up abusive behavior.
Yeah, and that's basically what I said to you, is that as someone who has dealt with that, it was anxiety inducing.
Yeah.
It was horrific, and
and I've dealt with my own in different ways, but yes.
I'm kind of glad that they have canceled the second debate because somebody didn't want to be on Zoom, I guess. And
it just seems like he's determined to just get more people sick. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, well, if Joe Biden gets sick,
don't say it.
I
mean, hey, after watching the debate with Kamala, like, hey, if you want to make her the president, that's fine.
But at any rate, that was just a mess, and I'm kind of glad that we don't have to deal with it again until the end of October. The third one is still technically on, I guess.
I mean, it's very convenient that the second one, which was supposed to be a town hall where he would actually have to face people and answer their questions, is the one that got canceled. I'm just saying.
Isn't it, though?
Yeah.
And there's no reason that he couldn't have done it virtually.
Yeah, I mean, he's spent hours talking to conservative pundits on the radio and on TV, so, I mean, he clearly has time.
I don't know. That's weird.
Yeah, he's going to do a rally instead, or a town hall of his own, which makes no sense. But,
That's all right. He's just giving Joe Biden more time.
It's fine.
Which is fine. The vice presidential debate, I mean, Mike Pence is the devil. Or has the mark of the devil. I don't know. Has the mark of the devil.
Wait, is that the flyer or his eye?
Yes. That man was not well.
Can I just tell you, like, Mike Pence just has this scowling, like, shitty face on all the time that legitimately, until the debate was over and they pointed out that he had whatever the fuck was going on with his, I didn't even notice it because, like, I couldn't see them. They were just hidden, like, under his eyebrows as he was scowling at everything. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's got coronavirus, but I thought somebody punched him in the eye. Which, if they did, good for them. But it was, he wasn't as overtly, like, loud and bombastically obnoxious as Trump. He was just very quietly obnoxious. But he
was still as obnoxious. He just
was literally the same thing.
Yeah.
Just, I'm going to keep talking, but he wasn't, like, absurd in why he was absurd in what he was saying, but his presentation wasn't as absurd. But he was just, I'm just going to talk over the moderator who's saying my time is up and not even acknowledge that she's speaking.
But, I mean, Kamala, at least, but because Kamala didn't have to deal with this stutter that Joe has to deal with trying to control, she could really respond quickly to him, and did not let him get away with that. I just love, I'm speaking.
I'm speaking. And literally, every woman in the world has been in a meeting like that.
Oh my God.
Every woman in the world has been in a conversation like that where you're trying to speak and some guy is just talking over you. And
see, I was in the other room, but I was listening, so I didn't see till the next day the looks, like the absolute, like
the Claire Huxtable, like,
oh
I'm sorry,
my
what
God,
the fuck did
I'm
you
sorry.
say? Yeah. Like, it's.
I'm sorry. Who do you think you're talking to?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I heard, and I'm like, you know what it reminded me of?
What?
I'm reclaiming my time.
Yeah, basically.
I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God.
And which, here's the thing about that, just to take a little aside. That was actually a more important moment than people realize. Because there is such a tightrope that women in politics have to walk as far as not coming off as bitchy or aggressive and also coming off as like warm and sweet and approachable. And I think she walked that very well in just going, not like, may I speak please? And just like, I'm speaking. I'm speaking. Okay. Anyway, like, and just moving on. And it needed to be done, and I'm glad that you did it.
Yes. What else is happening in the world? Oh, in case you looked away, because the news did. Protests are still happening.
They're not happening as frequently, as often, or in the volume that they were.
And because the news looked away, suddenly the people who were causing a lot of the violence, looking at you, Boogaloo people, have also, walked away from the protests. So the protests have been peaceful, which is also why they're not news.
Yeah. Well, if, just people
If people are just yelling in the streets, who cares about that?
Talking very calmly about the rights that they should be afforded and all that's not entertaining.
Although the Memphis Police Department did get some lovely new taser shields.
Yeah.
Because, let's militarize the police even further.
I hope nobody shorts them out by throwing salt water on them. But in any case, it's...
That would be terrible.
That would be hard. But, it's frustrating to see. And it was a concern when the protests were really in full swing that a lot of what we were seeing was performative allyship. And it was.
Oh, yeah.
And it's so frustrating that, like, there's a level to which I think some of it was like people were like, oh God, I've been stuck in the house. Hey, something to go do. And getting out of the house and like it was a fucking party or something. And, to be fair, I think a lot of people's eyes were opened. That's good. But being aware and doing something about it are two separate things.
And this is still an issue for Trump. Like, make no mistake, like, he's doing the whole law and order thing, and he is making this an issue. And it needs to still be the focus.
What is the statistic? How much of the protests were actually just 100% completely peaceful? Like 93%?
Yeah.
And that 7% includes counter protesters getting violent, random people looting the police, gassing people, and then people responding because they were being attacked. Not just people like going apeshit and causing a riot, but like other violence happening at a peaceful protest.
Right. Like, disruptive.
So, this whole narrative that you hear about like, oh, well, it was just riots. You mean the riots? Like, no, I'm talking about the protests. You want to focus on quote unquote rioting because that is an easy and quick way to just dismiss what is happening. But
and also, people talking about how like entire cities are on fire. Like, look what's been happening in Portland, as an example, is like
a block.
Yeah, it's like 2 city blocks. Like, come on now. And stuff in Philadelphia was in a neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not, the whole cities aren't on fire.
Yeah, there's no such
Like,
thing.
that's not happening.
And it's not your suburbs burning to the ground, like, which, again, cute dog whistle, about, oh, well, the protesters are going to come and they're going to invade your suburb. I'm like, okay, oh, you mean the black people? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
It's, there's a level to which, like, the initial thought of this podcast was not to be like, hey, let's talk about politics so often, but it's like, you can't escape it. And if you're not talking about it, if you're going like, oh, well, I'm not that into politics, enjoy your privilege, because it's a privilege not to have to engage with it and not to have to care.
But even if you're not that into politics and you're not seeing, like, politics is affecting you.
Right.
Whether you feel like you want to pay attention or not, politics is affecting you. It's affecting taxes that you're paying or that your employer is taking out of your check. It affects your, did you get $1,200 earlier this year? Because that had to do with politics. The roads that you drive on are funded because of politics. Like, everything in your life is affected on some level or another by politics. Even your schools, what gets taught in your schools, the school board, if you want to think that that's just, a bunch of PTA moms who have nothing better to do, who are serving on the school board because they got nothing else to do, wrong.
Well, school boards and state commissions are the reason that people have no idea about what black people in this country have gone through. So that's why there's a lot of this dismissive, like, oh, what the hell are you so mad about? I'm like, I don't know, look at a fucking history book. Oh, well, your history book is very skewed. And
also, it's LGBTQ History Month.
It is.
And I betcha nobody is teaching that shit.
Well, and here's the thing. Even like New Jersey is a good example. There's a lot of states that are, well, not a lot, but a few states that are like, okay, we're going to have an LGBT history curriculum, and the religious nuts are like, you can't do that. It's not teaching children about how to have gay sex. Stop it.
It's just showing that...
It's showing an accurate depiction of history that has been overlooked.
Right. It's showing that regardless of sexual orientation, people have value.
Yes.
And I mean, to be very honest, like, let's just teach history the way that it's, like, an honest assessment of history. Like, why do we have to have... I hate it all the time. Female commentator, so-and-so. Like, nobody goes around and goes, white male commentator, so-and-so. When they introduce people.
Yeah.
And they go, a black female writer. Who cares?
Well,
if they're... And the reason that we have to do this is because these people have been erased. So we have to come in and say, no, this person is a black person. Because otherwise, they would be erased.
The baseline that has been established is very white, very male, very cisnormative, and
very Christian.
And very Christian. And other people have been marginalized, pushed to the side, and their stories have not been accurately represented in how we have taught them.
Right. It's really sad that the state of the country is that we have to explain why people who are not white, male, cisnormative, Christian people have value.
Yes.
But we do. That's the state of the country. That's where we are. We have to teach that.
And it's tiring. I'm so tired. And I'm tired of having to explain to people. I'm tired of having to fight with people. I'm tired of having to battle to exist. And it's exhausting.
This is true.
So, what are we going to do about that? Here's the thing. We have to vote. And I know there's some people that are like, can you please stop telling me to vote? I'm going to go vote. Great. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to everybody else. Go vote. If you are not registered, and you can still register in your state, some states their registration dates have passed, go register right now. Like, I'm glad you're listening to the podcast. Pause what you're doing. Go fucking register. If you can vote early, vote early.
If you can mail in, mail in.
And just, oh my God. And this insane false narrative about like, oh, it's a gigantic voter fraud. Like, that's not a thing. There's not mail-in ballots floating around in creeks somewhere. What the fuck are you talking? Just pulling shit up out of your ass to just completely undermine the legitimacy of the election.
Here's the thing. The studies that have been done over the course of 30 years, because, absentee ballots have been a thing. So over the course of 30 years, they have found the percentage of mail-in voter fraud. Are you ready for it? The percentage of mail-in voter fraud is 0.0057%. That is less than 1%. It is less than 0.1%. It is less than 0.01%. You have a better chance of being struck by lightning. You have a far better chance of dying of coronavirus. Please don't do that. Than there being widespread voter fraud. It's not a thing, guys.
And this is the thing that's frustrating. And it's like the whole point of why we have to do this is because we haven't gotten the virus under control. If we had done that in the spring, this wouldn't even be an issue that we would have to be worrying about. But we didn't do what we were supposed to do. We weren't responsible. So now we have to do other things, and life has gotten more complicated. And pretending as if the coronavirus isn't a thing to worry about and everything's fine, and then undermining the election by saying, well, no, you just go vote. Send in a mail-in ballot and vote, because that's fine. Like, no, that's voter fraud. It's not just Trump. That's the thing. It's not just him lying and throwing out lies. The flood of cronies who will puppet what the fuck he says, and then get your normal everyday person to say the same thing and believe that is 100% the truth is just mind-numbing. And, the same people who will say facts over feelings, don't practice what they preach, because they don't care about facts.
Well, convenient facts over feelings.
Oh, well. And
duh.
The whole reason that, there is such an effort to have mail-in voting is because we're trying to keep more people from dying of the coronavirus. I don't understand why that is so hard to comprehend. Like, we're trying to save people's lives. So, okay, vote in this reliable, time-tested method. People are like, oh, this is like a new thing. Like, guys, the military has been voting by mail since the Civil War. It's fine. And even if that,
Trump votes by mail.
Yeah. Fucking hypocrite. Yeah. And even if, there was that level of voter fraud that you were just talking about, that you were enumerating on a massive scale, it could not in any way, shape, or form sway the election. It's not. It's not what's going on. So, the way to ensure an unquestioned legitimacy is to vote. Is to vote ahead of time. If you're voting in person, go vote in person. If you can go vote in person early, do that. Be careful. Wear your mask. Wear gloves if you have to. Sanitize everything. be safe. And because on election night, if the returns are so overwhelming that it can't be questioned, then the rest is just, okay, and now we have to count on mail-in ballots because it's not going over.
It's not going to be that way.
It's not. It's not. But that's what he's banking on.
Yeah, but keep the faith, even if it takes weeks, because it's going to take a while.
Yeah.
Look, if you're afraid of the post office, all of the monkeying around that's happened with the post office, with the taking out sorting machines and all of that stuff. If you're scared of that, drop your ballot in a ballot box. Mm-hmm. Most places across the country have them. I know that in Texas, there's only one per county because voter suppression. But you can also turn in your mail-in ballot at your polling place.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, go where
you can go and drop off your ballot at your polling place and not, stand in line and do all that. You just drop it off that day.
Now, I would just say things vary from place to place, from state to state. So please go look online, see what the rules are, go to vote.org or something like that, and actually, make sure that you know what the rules and the guidelines are, where you're at, so that you know what you're doing. Make a plan now, and so that you know what you need to do.
But I do think that I'm not so worried about, he won't commit to a peaceful transfer of power. I'm not so worried about that because he really doesn't have the, military backing to pull off a coup.
No.
I mean, he's gotten all of the top brass at sick. They all have coronavirus.
Gotten the Secret Service sick as well. They appreciate. I hope that he actually tries to resist leaving, so that the poor people in the Secret Service who've had to endure him for the last week
walk him out.
Can just perp walk him out and just drag him out of the White House. They've earned that right.
But I mean, and the way he has disrespected, the military, and now saying that Gold Star families got him sick. Oh my God. If you're in the military, I don't know why you would back him. I don't think that's going to be a thing. I think it's going to be a long haul to count everything. And
yeah, it's going to take some time. We're used to the instant gratification of, I don't know.
The election night.
Election night is yeah, we know who won. Let's celebrate. A balloon drop.
I love me watching some Steve Kornacki.
Steve Kornacki at the big board? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But... Listen, we're
every year they give him new tools.
I know.
And new toys that don't work.
Don't work.
It's fantastic.
Well, we'll come back to that. But here's the thing. It's not just okay, Trump sucks. He's annoying. Let's get rid of him. There's more at stake than that. It's not just Trump.
Oh my God, so much at stake.
What he's going to do, what a Congress can do, what the states will do, what the courts will do. I mean, legitimately, your health care is at risk. The administration is in court right now, even though they try to deny it, trying to undermine your health care, trying to take your health care away.
By the way, November 1st to December 15th is your
open enrollment.
Yes. You need to know that because they're not advertising it because they don't want you to enroll.
And here's the thing. All of you 7.5 plus almost 8 million people who have contracted coronavirus and are not part of the 215,000 people who have died from it, you now have a very severe pre-existing condition. Enjoy that, because if the Affordable Care Act is taken away, they have no plan. They keep saying, "Oh well, no, we'll keep your pre-existing condition."
Yeah, he can't do that by executive order.
No, that's not how that works.
That doesn't work that way.
So yeah, they will deny you coverage because you've had the coronavirus.
And also, I'm just saying this for my fellow disabled people.
Yeah.
They're going to block legalized marijuana. It's on the ballot in several states right now. It's on the ballot in New Jersey. It's on the ballot in several states. Yes, most states have medical marijuana. Do you understand the hoops that need to be jumped through to get medical marijuana right now? Like, and there are lots of them.
And this isn't an advertisement for like, yo, everybody go get toked. Like, listen, I don't smoke marijuana. The closest I've ever had to being high was when I was at a concert and I got a slight contact high because everybody around me just lit up halfway through the concert at the same time. I mean, I did get the munchies though. I had some Wendy's. It was delicious. But I'm sitting here going like, this is stupid. This is stupid. So many people are imprisoned for trying to support their families.
500,000 people.
Rachel with the numbers. Yep.
500,000 people are in prison for marijuana. Conversely, 495,000 people are in prison for actual violent crime. Guys.
And and here's the thing, just talking about like, oh, well, if you're concerned about your tax dollars and how they're spent, yeah, well, it costs a lot to house, feed, and imprison people for low-level, non-violent offenses like having, a bag of weed. Meanwhile, you've got middle-aged, corporate guys attending conferences and going, oh, well, this is going to be really profitable for us. Like, legitimately, middle-aged dudes sitting around in suits and ties going, oh, this is going to be very good for us. This is very profitable. Like, yeah.
This is a twofold thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you stop incarcerating people, you save money.
Yes.
On your taxes. And also, if you legalize weed, you have a whole new stream of sales tax coming in.
Which I always find it funny.
Twofold. You're going to save money.
The people who are against it.
And you're going to make money.
Yeah.
For your state.
Win-win. And the people that are always against it are always...
And you can have weed.
Always like, it wasn't as high of a tax income as y'all said. And like, well, every state, it's like, this has actually been really good for us. So I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Yeah, like Colorado, they gave a whole shit ton of money back to people because they had like a major surplus.
And so it's just the reason that marijuana is criminalized the way it is, low history lesson, is because of the Nixon administration. And the whole point was to go, okay, so
jail the hippies.
We're gonna jail the hippies because they're fighting against my administration. So we're gonna criminalize weed, and we're gonna do the same thing with crack because that's used more often in black populations versus powder cocaine, and we're going to criminalize that at a much harsher rate than powder cocaine, so we can lock up the hippies and we can lock up the black people. Because they're fighting my administration.
But I'm not talking about legalizing crack. Crack should not be legalized.
No, it shouldn't. But it should be policed in the same way that powder cocaine is. But but that goes back to okay. If you're on TikTok, you will understand this reference. Black neighborhoods are overpoliced, so of course they have high rates of crime. White perpetrators are undercharged, so of course they have lower rates of crime. And all the stats that you keep using are operating off a small sample size. So shut up. It's the way that black communities are policed in this country is wholly disproportionate to how white communities and white perpetrators are policed in this country. And people think that civil rights was something that happened. Oh, we were watching a video yesterday, and the person was like, yeah, well, when I was in school.
That was an amazing video. We should link to that.
We're going to. It was on Vera Wiles' channel. If you are queer, go follow her. She's got a lot of good content. But, she posted a video of part of a live stream that she did where she was talking about this. And the way that our history is taught in schools is, laws were unfair to black people, so they marched and then things changed. And it was peaceful and everything. Like, that's not how it happened.
Yeah.
And it didn't end. Things are still disproportionate. Things are still unfair. And civil rights are still an issue that we're fighting to this day. That's what the protests have been about. And why people can't wrap their little heads around it, I don't understand. But, we're living through this period of time where, like, we shouldn't have to say this. White supremacy is bad.
Yeah, there should be...
It's real, and it's bad.
There's no world in which a moderator of a presidential debate in 2020 should have to ask a candidate to say white supremacy is bad.
And then they can't do it.
Also,
neither one of them did it.
There is no world in which a president in 2020 should not be able to say white supremacy is bad. Like, and he couldn't.
No.
He couldn't say it. And then he demanded a specific group, because, I mean, white supremacist is too broad of a term, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And he still couldn't say it.
No.
Like, but civil rights are under attack. And it's not just rights for black people. It's not just LGBTQ rights. It's women's rights. It's everybody.
And this is why, we're saying the court is so important. Because everybody thinks about the president. They very rarely consider what Congress is doing. That's why they think the president is a king. And can do whatever he wants. Or she wants. Or they want. And nobody pays any attention to the courts. And all of that is on the ballot.
And Roe is a civil rights issue, guys.
Yes.
Like, a woman's right to choose is a civil rights issue.
And I totally understand people who have a religious objection to it. That
then don't get an abortion.
Yeah. But, it's so insane that, like, we have to have these conversations about, like, well, what are people's religious positions on these issues? Like, the United States was set up specifically, in part, to separate church and state. That was part of the problem why we had a revolution to begin with. It's so insane that we don't comprehend that whatever your religious beliefs are, do not and should not have any bearing whatsoever on your worth as a candidate or the political positions and laws that are put forward in this country. We don't live in a theocracy, so pretending like that is something we should be considering is insane, because we shouldn't. And we
shouldn't have to.
We shouldn't have to. And you're free to have whatever religious objections you have, but that doesn't mean that your religious beliefs are free to control what other people do in their lives and with their own bodies.
Exactly. We also, like, this country right now is in a economic recession.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the handling of the coronavirus. Like, okay, I'm not going to say that we weren't going to be in this position anyway, because Mr. Wharton's School of Business doesn't know economics. But definitely the coronavirus has thrown things for a loop.
I mean, he doesn't know economics. He's a very successful businessman who makes no money. What do you mean?
6 or 7 bankruptcies.
He's never had any bankruptcies. What are you talking about?
So we need to reset
the
American economy.
We cannot get the economy going at full steam again until we get this virus under control. It's not going to happen. And so we have to focus on getting the virus under control so that we can get back to a sure footing economically.
But even so, the virus has done the damage.
Mm-hmm.
There are people who are losing their homes.
Yes.
Because of the failure, basically the failure of the Senate at this point to pass any more coronavirus legislation. Like, people are losing their homes. People are lining up around the corner for food. And,
yeah, like, people are in breadlines.
Yeah. Trump keeps saying, this is socialist. This is how it's going to be if you're a socialist. Like, we're not a socialist country.
Yeah, this is your administration.
This is what's happening right now.
He's running against himself.
It's disgusting. So the way you vote matters for how we're going to reset this economy.
And this is not just about Cinnamon Hitler. This is, how you vote for your representatives in Congress, your governors, your state reps, your local people. Like, they have a role to play in this up and down the ballot. And so you need to actually look and see where people stand, what they are doing, what they have proposed, so that you make an informed decision. Because here's the thing. You were saying this is on the Senate, that they haven't done anything. And they keep saying, oh, well, we need to pass something that Trump's going to sign. If you pass something and he refuses to sign it, you have the power to overturn a veto. You don't have the willpower to do it because you're worried that he might tweet about you and then you'll lose your election. And if you're more concerned with staying in power than making sure that people don't lose their lives, you do not belong in Congress any longer. I'm sorry, I got a little heated.
You're done?
Yes, I'm done. Mm-hmm.
New Jersey, I don't know all the statistics.
Yeah.
New Jersey has paid out something like $6.1 billion in unemployment benefits. It's not sustainable. The economy needs a total reset. And in many cases, your unemployment and your rental assistance and those are state programs. Those are things, some of them are subsidized by the federal government, but these are state programs. And since the person in the White House basically ceded all control of coronavirus response to the states also are now going to have to figure out how to get their people back on their feet. And a lot of it is going to come from the states. So you need to be thinking about your state representatives.
Yes.
As much, if not more, than your federal representatives.
It's just fun how the sentiment of the buck stops here just got thrown completely out the window. Just like,
well, it stopped.
I'm not going to take, I'm not going to take responsibility for everything. You're on your own.
And also, just democracy as a whole. Your Bill of Rights, the big ones, are being attacked right now.
And no, we're not just talking about, your Second Amendment rights because you're precious. No, we're not talking about that. I mean, they've been attacking the press left and right. That's the First Amendment. Your right to protest is the First Amendment. People focus on the Second Amendment and the rest of the Bill of Rights. They completely ignore and let the government do whatever the hell they want and don't realize that you have constitutional rights in those areas.
No, nobody's trying to take your guns. Although, if the would-be dictator gets a second term and tries to go for a third term and people oppose him, guess who's coming for your guns? But a free press, voting rights, all of these things are ensconced. There is no such thing as a government-run press. There is no such thing as freedom of speech for whoever supports me. Like, that's not a thing. It's freedom of speech, period. It's freedom of the press, period. It's a woman's right to vote, period. Like, all of the things, they don't come with caveats. I mean, okay, freedom of speech comes with a caveat is if you're posing a clear and present danger, like yelling fire in a theater.
Which you can do that. There's just consequences, because you created a danger in a different way.
Because you created a dangerous situation. Yeah, freedom of speech does not mean freedom from consequence. Like, you can say whatever you want, and what it means is that the government is not going to, throw a black bag over your head and drag you away.
Getting canceled on Twitter is not the same thing.
Right. It does not mean that people don't have the right to call you an asshole.
Yeah.
Or to fire you for your opinions. But this is government, freedom from the government impinging on your speech. Freedom from the government impinging on the press's ability to report. these are the linchpins of democracy. And these are what are under attack right now. Free and fair elections are under attack right now. Term limits are under attack right now. He wants a third term, guys, because his first term wasn't productive. Well, why wasn't it productive?
Because
we'll see how he fucked it up.
We'll have to look at that later. We'll see how it will. Maybe we need more.
I will hit you.
Why are you going to hit me?
For your impression. Don't bring that into this house. This house has enough bad juju. We do not need that.
Yes. Fair.
But
cleansing thoughts.
The people who are saying vote like your democracy depends on it are not being hyperbolic.
No.
Our democracy depends on this election. So, with that being said, I think you've got the idea. Vote.
Vote.
Mail in your ballot. Help somebody else get to the polls if they need help getting to the polls if you're not going to do mail-in.
Work the polls. How?
If you have time, people are looking for poll workers.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I will say that with a caveat. It's possible this year that working at the polls may be a more dangerous prospect than it has been in previous years.
True.
If you can, and you feel comfortable, work the polls. You know what? Phone bank for your candidate. There's time. I've been getting, 1,000 text messages a day from various people who are, wanting me to vote. Like,
we've already voted, so.
Yes, you're wasting your time. But there are people that haven't. If you have the ability, donate.
Mm-hmm.
Call your elected officials and be annoying. Especially about this Supreme Court thing. Call your elected officials.
And we've said that before about calling, writing, pestering your representatives. You're probably not going to get to them directly, but their staff will take your call. They'll enumerate how many people called about this thing and what their opinions were. And that's how they make their decisions. And the more you call, the more they hear what you have to say. And it's an election year, and they want you to vote for them. Even if you don't intend on voting for them, if they're afraid that you're not going to vote for them, their positions can change.
So make yourself annoying.
Yes.
Make sure that they know that people are watching them. That's important. And, this has been a very doomy, gloomy podcast. I apologize that we came back and we doom and gloomed you right away.
Fuck 2020. It's been... We had to address the elephant in the room.
But don't lose hope.
No.
Don't for a minute say, I can't change anything. Because everybody counts. Everybody matters. And we need to keep going.
Yes.
Look, 2021 is going to come. Unless, Roid Rage nukes us all. I don't know.
There's an asteroid that's going to come close the day before the election. So, if right beforehand, it seems bleak, we can just, get back on the podcast and be like, hey, everybody's lean. Tell you to lean.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to do it.
No, it's not going to do it, but it's...
But there is hope. 2021 is going to come. Mm-hmm. We're going to get out of 2020, but we've got to keep working hard for it. We can get things back on track.
Nothing comes without work. There's always hope. And we're going to get through this together.
Yes.
Yes.
And we promise we won't leave you again.
Sorry, guys.
Or if we do, maybe we'll put out a little something that says we're not dead, we just need a break.
Yeah.
Because,
oh God, Jesus.
I'm trying to break everything here. I'm sorry.
Don't break the equipment or else we can't fulfill that promise you just made.
We're back. We'll try to be
consistent.
And, not all of the episodes are going to be doom and gloom.
We'll find something happy to talk about.
An aside, if you've got potty training tips, please help.
For God's sake, help us.
Help me.
Please.
Help. But, look down in the links because there's a couple of really good videos and stuff that we're going to link to and some resources.
Thank you for reminding me at the end of the podcast so that when I'm done editing this, I can immediately go and get them. Thank you.
I'm trying. What else?
That's all I've got. I think we've skimmed at them enough.
Look for in days to come that lost episode.
Yeah.
Will at some point make it to Patreon.
Yes, which, hey, if you would like us to be more consistent and able to put out more content, you know what to do.
Yeah, because Shannon's unemployed.
Damn. Bus is heavy. I know. Don't look at me like that.
Anyway, thank you for listening.
Yes, thank you. It's been nice being back.
Yes.
I enjoy this. I've missed this.
I am Rachel.
And I am Shannon.
Thank you for listening to
Our Life in Transition. Bye.
See ya. Thank you again for listening to Our Life in Transition.
This show is hosted by Rachel and Shannon McDill.
Our producer and editor is Shannon McDill.
Our theme music is Seize the Day by Jens Kiilstofte.
Support us on Patreon at patreon.com/olitpod. That's /OLITPOD.
Your support makes this show possible. Thank you.